Hello, Tungsten Miner here. I am passing through a village on my way to my latest construction, which begins with this little new road segment. What I decided I wanted to do is, looking at the map, we can see there are, between my base up here and on this continent, there really aren't any cold weather foresty sorts of biomes. You can find gravel beaches there. You can find spruce and other tundra sorts of things. There's this bit of a mountain here, but it really has no tundra. It's just kind of a snowfield. But going a little bit south, you have this nice tundra biome, or taiga forest, tundra, a combination of different biomes, with this nice gravel beach. So it's a good source of gravel. Has lots of lava pits on it. It's got a dungeon down there. Seemed like a pretty neat target to go after to try and connect up to our roadway system. So here I am on the beginnings of the roadway, which is going to extend all the way down to that island. I also thought it would be a fun place to try a different style of bridge, which actually, honestly, was really motivated me to get started on it. So here we are going through some dark forest. This is kind of another nice little bridge. Just simple spruce logs, but I took chisels and bits and rounded off the corners, so you wind up with, well, some real looking logs. And then wherever I had to cross one of these little ponds, I just threw some spruce logs across and then chisels and bitted them down to make them look actually like a nice little log bridge. And I think there's two of those on this stretch of road here. Yeah, so we're going to go through a little bit of an oak forest, a little bit of a spruce forest, another one of those spruce bridges. And this is the bridge which leads off to the next island. So if we jump down here a bit, we can see how it's constructed. So the pylons are a rhyolite cobblestone. So there's a lot of rhyolite stone over there. This is spruce wood chiseled down to be round, like we saw before. I also just extended the cobblestone up 2 bits and then carved it back a little bit so that it looks more like an intersection, more like a pier that the logs are shaped to sit on. And then I took some large planks and made those cross members, added some other cross members there to hook those together, and then put a kind of the same pieces that I was using for rafters in the house. So they're 1 by 4 tall, going along the edge, resting on these piers here. And then I took some planks and actually made planks out of them. Unfortunately, with a 16-bit wide block, you can't make them all 4 planks wide. You got 4, and that gives you 12, and then you've got the gaps in between, and, well, that gets you to 15, so you got 1 extra spot. Hang on, let me sleep a bit here. Right, so you give 1 extra bit of width, and so what I chose to do was to put that in one of the planks so that you can really barely notice it. So from below, you've got this intersecting with the cross beams that go over. You've got these little pieces to hold the 4 of them together, and then you've got the rafters that go the whole length of the bridge and the planks that go across the top. So if we jump up and look a little more closely, we can see the planks going across the rafters below. And I very deliberately left a 1-bit gap so you could see underneath and feel like you're really crossing a less substantial, kind of wooden bridge. And then to make these pieces here, I used the chisel mod to choose a different pattern that was the simplest one that had the least detail in it to make the posts, and then used the same spruce logs as the handrails going across, except these spruce logs are going up and down, and these ones are going north to south. Once I had my patterns, there was really this block, that block, that block, that block, and then this one and that one, along with that one. So about 7 pieces, 8 pieces total. I went ahead and created the bridge. Um, if you've watched the last video I did about a bridge, I more or less did the same thing. As I took this piece and extended it all the way across, dropping in these pieces on every 11th block, giving myself just a teeny bit more room than the last bridge. Figuring that this much wood would be a little bit lighter and strong enough to hold itself up. Still looks about right. So having done that, I came back in and filled in the posts sitting in a boat, and then dived down to fill in the rest of the cobblestone, taking trips back over to that other island in order to harvest what I needed. And in the end, that got me this bridge. Some of the things I did a little differently this time that were kind of learnings from last time. One, I decided to make these a little bit further apart. Since I'm not doing an arch, it could have been pretty much any distance I liked. Two, I did the handrail a little differently. So you can see the handrail is completely within this 1 meter segment here. And this is completely within its own 1 meter segment. It has no change to the underlying roadway. So when I put this down and when I put that down, it was just a matter of using the placement setting rather than trying to merge or integrate it with the rest of the blocks. And that made it a lot easier to place. Second, this hand railing fits entirely within this 1 meter. So it's 1, 2 pieces all done instead of 4 pieces as the other one was. So it's kind of twice as fast to make. Kind of interesting. That's very interesting. Why is that red? Huh, I have no idea. That's very curious. As I was saying, one thing that was kind of interesting to note is that since I'm using planks, and you get 4 planks per log, and since I'm not using whole blocks, I'm using, well, very low density use of the wood. If you want to think about like how little of that 1 meter chunk there is actually filled in to produce that roadway. It turns out I could make this entire bridge, the roadway part of the bridge, the planking part of the bridge, with I think something like 20 logs. It was like 2 or 3 trees worth of logs to get the entire roadway of the bridge. And then doing the handrails was another tree or 2. And then the real thing was there was a whole bunch of trees involved because these are using not only logs instead of planks, but they use almost the entire log. So to get that many of them was quite a few trees. So as I carried along, what I would do is chop down a tree and then plant another tree where I took it. And you can kind of see I took all the extra spruce saplings and started planting them all over. And some of them have grown up, but a lot of them haven't yet. So that got me all the way over here to this island. Now the other slightly tricky thing was to think about how did I want the foundations to work on either side. What I started off with is to put a 3 meter wide by 3 meter wide cobblestone pad underneath the end piece. And I use the same block here as I do all throughout for the supports. And then I extended it around 1 more meter in every direction. So that got me 5 by 5. And then I added these 2 blocks here as kind of the end piece to separate from the roadway. And so the whole thing winds up being a fairly substantial little chunk of rhyolite bedrock. And then in this case, I didn't want gravel underneath. I wanted to just keep extending the cobblestone so that it looks like a more substantial kind of base. I actually got all of my rhyolite right in there. And then all the dirt I collected in building the road, I used to fill that hole back in. There's actually a pretty substantial little cave back there at one point as I was working on things. So that is the newest addition in our world and a pretty cool spruce bridge. So that's it for this time. Any questions, just go ahead and leave those in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit like, and if you want to see when the next one's ready, hit subscribe. And I will talk to you later.